another day.
One more challenge that comes our way.
It's up to me and you. We know what we've gotta do. It's so simple, it feels so right.
It all makes sense when we're side by side.
We lean on one another and make each other stronger. We are together now, friends forever now. Whatever comes our way, we won't run away.
Standing tall,
One for all,
it's our destiny.
Oh, you know, I hear it's a good idea to open these up with a joke. So that was a beautiful edit of the Berserk anime in the 4Kids style. That was done by it's just hold on, I think it's like UI04 is a channel. The link to the channel's in the description. So when I was looking for stuff Berserk related, I stumbled upon that. And I must have watched it like 50 damn times. Like, it's just, especially after after I read the entire manga from volume 1 all the way up to where we're at right now. It took me about a month and a half. I stumbled upon that, and knowing the full context of everything that happens between Guts and Griffith in this series, that dub is great. That dub is just fantastic. So yeah, go and watch it. The channel link is in the description below. Oh man, where were you when you read the Eclipse part? I was in the same location I was when I read the rest of the manga, and that was in my living room. I was on my living room, in my living room on my little recliner, reading these next to my little lamp, and yeah, that's where I read all of them. It took me about, I think I bought the first volume in I think it was actually the last day of March. I tweeted about it. I tweeted like, oh my god, I have found an ancient tome, and it was the first volume of Berserk. And yeah, it took me, I finished it mid-May. I finished it like probably like 2 weeks ago, honestly, is when I finished that. So yeah, this is the big Berserk stream. I didn't really know how to format this into a video. You know, normally I would just like you know, Yomi no Tsugai, which is, I just, you know, read the first volume of that, and then I read the rest of it, you know, by Arakawa, and I'm like, by the way, it was great that I read that as a break from Berserk. Because, let me tell you, if you read, like, obviously I was reading One Piece and stuff like Shonen too. I was reading, like, Mashle, like, every week, and My Hero Academia and stuff like that. But if you just sit down and read the entire Berserk manga from start to finish over the course of a month and a half with really no breaks in between. Like, I took a couple of maybe, like, I would finish a volume, like, after the Eclipse, which was in volume 5, I think I took a couple of days of a break before I moved on to 6 and then 7 and 8. But I didn't really take that many breaks in between the deluxe editions back here. It was pretty much maybe a day or two in between, and then I just kept going because I knew I had to get this done. And I really wanted to read, because like I finished reading one part of the story, and I'm like, how the hell can this be, like, this happens in, like, the 5th edition. There's like 8 more. Like, how else can, like, what else can happen to this guy? You know, like, poor Guts. You know, it's just like, dear, okay. So, yeah, wait, you finished? Yeah, Daniel. And by the way, Daniel Green is in here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a hand for Daniel Green. Hand for Daniel Green, because Daniel, you're the reason I kind of finally sat down and read Berserk, because I've been doing YouTube for a number of years, you know, and, you know, it's one of those series that's been around since before I was born, so a lot of people were recommending it to me ever since, like, the early days. It was this and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which, gotta be fair, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Berserk, very different vibes, okay? But those were the two ones I always told, like, oh, those are, like, the grand champions of manga. Like, those are the classics. You gotta read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and you gotta read Berserk, right? Those are two manga that started in the 80s, and they're still around today, and you know, yada, yada, yada. And so, round of applause. There you go, Daniel. There you go. And, you know, everyone was telling me, oh, you got to read Berserk, got to read Berserk. And it's a very daunting task, you know, considering it's been around since like 89, I think. And so finally, I saw Daniel reviewing it, and I'm like, all right, I put it off long enough. I need to sit down and read Berserk. But I couldn't really figure out a way to, like I said, format it into a video. Like, it's just going to be so scattershotted. So I think the best way for me to do it would be in live stream format kind of a situation, and then you can just ask me questions, and I can try to answer them to the best of my ability. I gotta be honest with you, reading Berserk, it has been a very different experience from every other manga I have read. A very distinct feeling reading Berserk that I can definitely see why Kentaro Miura is regarded as like one of the greatest mangakas of all time. Because the way he just like viscerally shows like the darkest part of the human soul in this, I don't really think could be captured by anybody else. The closest thing I had was, because I'd also read Gantz, you know, which is another very popular seinen manga that a lot of really messed up things happen to the characters. But this is a different vibe than even Gantz. This is like, and yeah, this is, I think it's just because like most of the stuff that happens, like obviously it's not just all happening to Guts. It happens to Casca, and everybody really is kind of involved in this. But you really you're following Guts on this journey as the struggler. And I don't think a title has ever been more fitting for a character than Guts being referred to as the struggler. Because it's just like more and more weight gets thrown on him to carry as the story progresses. And it, like, even when you think like, oh, some of the weight is shrugged off, like even more gets thrown on. Oh, man. One angle I would love to hear your thoughts on is the art itself. Every panel of Berserk just bleeds with effort and detail. The dragon atop the tower might be my favorite literal drawing of a dragon. The artwork in this is phenomenal. And that's another thing, Daniel, that you recommended. I remember in your video, you said you got to splurge and get the deluxe editions because the artwork, like, you know, you could read it online with varying degrees of quality. And, you know, you have the, this is actually the first volume I ever bought. I tried to read Berserk a couple years ago. I think back in 2018, I bought the first volume here, tried to read a little bit of that, and kind of just stopped after it. Not because I didn't like it or anything, it's just because I got distracted and went to go do other stuff. But, yeah, the deluxe editions are definitely, like, the way to go. They're kind of expensive. They're like $50 each in the States. So yeah, I had a Barnes & Noble membership, so thankfully I got a little bit of a discount considering I had to buy all of them. I didn't buy them all at once. I didn't like walk out of the bookstore all at once, but okay. Yeah, the art style of this, it definitely changes and evolves. Like most manga. There was actually a prototype chapter of Berserk where Guts had an eye patch. But overall, Guts' design looks pretty much the same. He gets, I think, a little bulkier throughout the story. His facial expressions are the things that change the most, where, like, at the beginning of the story, Guts he's a man on the mission, you know what I mean? Like, it's like shortly after the eclipse, he's rested, and he's out for blood, and he feels like this is my mission to go out in the world and just kill as many apostles as I possibly can. I keep saying apostles. That's something I've always said. It's apostles, right? It's not, there's no T in it, right? That's just the way I've been saying it my whole life. One of those things. But, like, he's dedicated to it. He's going out there. He's doing it. And I was debating, honestly, to discuss this. Like, do you feel the beginning of Berserk with the Black Swordsman arc, that small little, like, I don't even know how many chapters it was. It was only, like, barely over the first volume. It was, like, the first 5 or 6 chapters of Berserk where we see Guts in the middle of his journey, and then meeting Puck, and then going through, you know, meeting the Count and everything. Like, would the story be different at all if you just started it with the Golden Age? Because that was, like, one of the questions I had, because I'm reading the first volume of Berserk and, like, get through that arc, and then it's like we go immediately to the Golden Age, and it becomes very clear the Golden Age is not just, like, a small little flashback. Like, I originally thought that's what it was. I thought, like, okay, we're journeying with Guts for a little bit, and we're seeing what he's all about. And then it's like we have some questions about his backstory and how did he end up here? You know, like how did he end up in this position? And so then we cut to the Golden Age, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be like a 10-chapter flashback arc or something, and we're going to just see what's going on with Guts, and then we're going to cut back to no, it's like 80 chapters. It's like 80 chapters. It's like chapters 1 through 5 or 6 are the Black Swordsman arc, and then you get like 80 chapters of the Golden Age all the way up to the Eclipse. And so you don't resume Guts' story from where you started until like chapter 90 something. Like it's that's a little bit. So like if you haven't got into Berserk, just keep that in mind, because that gave me a little bit of whiplash at the very beginning. Black Swordsman was Kento still finding out what his story was going to be. I get that, and I understand that was probably the reason. Also, just like, okay, you know, it's the 1980s, you're drawing a manga, you know, you want the reader to be sucked in immediately, okay? And the Golden Age arc is phenomenal. I honestly think if he started with Golden Age, chapter 1, where like chapter 1 of Berserk is literally just, you know, the soldiers walking by the tree of all the hanged people, and then, you know, Guts is just there under his mother's corpse. You know, it's like that's just literally how it started, and then we follow Guts' journey as a child, becoming a mercenary, eventually meeting Griffith and joining the Band of the Hawk. Like, if we started with that, I still think it would have been fine, but I can also understand the, like, oh, okay, we gotta start this with some action. We gotta start this with some high-octane, like, badassery, you know? We got this dude. His name's Guts, and he doesn't fuck around, ladies and gentlemen, all right? He's got this big sword, and he just hacks demons apart all day, every day, you know? All night, every night. Like, that's just how he rolls, okay? And, I think at the time, that's like, you know, I think that would have been really, that's probably the best way to start it. Also, just thinking about that for a moment, like when you're talking about an anime, because that's like a trope at this point, you know, like the trope of the anime protagonist, badass character having a buster sword, like twice the length of their body, right? That's like so impractical that like nobody could ever swing. Was that even done before Berserk? Because you think of all the famous examples of the anime protagonist wielding a buster sword. You'd think you would go back, I mean, you would think, like, I immediately think of Ichigo for obvious reasons, but it didn't start with Ichigo. So before that, you have Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII, but that was the late 90s. Cloud was like 10 years after, like 10 years after Berserk. Berserk made that trope. Like, honestly, I think Rave Master was way after Berserk. Berserk was like 88 or 89 it started. I think 89 is when it was serialized, but there was a lot of, just like with One Piece and Romance Dawn, there were a bunch of prototype versions. So Miura was working on this for several years, probably prior to the release of it. Yeah, Cloud was inspired from Berserk. I was assuming he was, yeah. They admitted Cloud was inspired by Guts. Okay, so was just Guts the first? Was Guts the origin of the big badass Buster Sword trope? Because if that's the case, that even makes reading it even more, like, fulfilling. Like, okay, great, awesome. I found the origin of one of my favorite tropes, the Buster Sword. You know, there would be no Cloud without Guts. There would be no Ichigo without Guts, damn it. Yeah, no, surely he would have had the story till Golden Age. At least he sets up Golden Age and Black Swordsman himself. Yeah, so let's talk about that. So that's probably, like, okay, Black Swordsman arc itself wasn't anything, like, mind-blowing to me. You know, honestly, okay, I need to back up a bit. All right, this is why I'm doing a stream. You know, this video would have been all over the place. I'd be sitting here like, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, the first time I heard about Berserk, okay, I had to think about this because it's been forever. First time I actually heard about Berserk, like I actually saw somebody talking about Berserk, I think it was around 2009, okay? I was 15, maybe 16, and there was a reviewer. There was a guy, I don't even remember his name, but he was on thatguywiththeglasses.com back when that was just getting started, right? And there was this, it wasn't Nick, it wasn't Y Roller of Time who did manga stuff on that site, but there was somebody else on the site that decided to do a review of Berserk. And I can kind of vaguely remember that video. And that's where I first heard about it, and he talked about it, and that's like it, okay? And so then shortly after that, a couple years later, I start doing, Bleach reviews. I start getting a lot of recommendations, and like I said, pretty much from day one, people start talking about, Berserk and JoJo's. And so over the years, so many people have told me a little bit about Berserk that it was just like, okay, I know there's a guy named Guts. I know there's a guy named Griffith. I know there's a scene involving an eclipse. I know that Griffith does something really fucked up to Guts during the eclipse. Did not know. I didn't even know about Casca. Honestly, I didn't even know about Casca. I just thought it was like a thing between Guts and Griffith, and that was it. So when I was reading the story and Casca was introduced and it was very clear she was going to be a main character, I'm like, oh, that's a paradigm of this I didn't even know. All right. So that even adds to like the whole like, oh God, when it actually gets to that point. So my idea was like, okay, when I start reading Berserk, I better be ready for some really intense shit, right? Like that was the impression I got. Like, when you start reading Berserk, you better be ready. And by the way, I submit that. I don't know why you would be watching this right now if you haven't already read Berserk. But suffice to say that there's a lot of things in Berserk that touch upon very serious subject matter. There's violence and gore, but like that's like paint by numbers when it comes to seinen manga. Although the violence and gore that's utilized in Berserk is next level with that. So, hey, if you're already a fan of seinen manga, you're probably used to seeing blood and gore and violence and all that kind of shit. So, but if it's like it goes into more uncomfortable places, then maybe it's not for you. Also, like, there's themes of sexual assault, there's themes of suicide. So if you're easily triggered by any of that, like if that's a subject that you just don't want to deal with, then this isn't for you. Dear God, this isn't for you. So just a warning there, right? Guts' intro as character doesn't reflect the man he grows into at all. It's Berserk's biggest flaw in my opinion, but I'm glad it's there, because real Guts is better than cringy, boinking demon's guts. All right, so once again, let's talk. So now we're finally getting to the Black Swordsman arc. So that was just my build-up to this. So then I start reading it, and that's probably the reason why I read the first volume of this, and then I was just like, yeah, all right, it's pretty good. I like the artwork. I can tell that people really like this story. But there was really nothing, and once again, keep in mind, like, late 80s, very different kind of probably what you want out of manga, things had not quite developed to the point where we're at right now. I feel like if Berserk, like the Black Swordsman arc, was just released now, in 2023, with no Berserk being, existing prior to that, I feel like a lot of people would just look into this and be like, oh, this guy's trying too hard. Miura's trying too hard with this character. It's just like, I'm an edgy, dark swordsman that cuts people down with a giant sword. It's just like, I'm really gruff. I'm really distant. It's just like, yeah, I mean, like nowadays, that's kind of like, that's a trope in and of itself. But back in the day, back in the late 80s and stuff, it might have been a little bit less rote. So some things I think that are done very well in the Black Swordsman arc, other than just seeing Guts and the artwork of him just slicing down demons apart, is the foreshadowing that sets up the Golden Age. And once again, as I said, it's like, oh, the 80s were a different time back then. I think that also lends to Miura's writing style evolving, because there were certain themes that he was tackling with Berserk in the late 80s and early 90s that you probably didn't see very often in other contemporary works of manga and stuff. And so that itself is interesting. So I'm reading the Black Swordsman arc, and let me just give you an example of this. There's the scenes where anytime any character tries to touch Guts, whether it be because it's like, hey, I want to talk to you, or hey, it's going to be okay, or even when Puck, his little elf traveling companion, tries to be like, Guts, are you okay? He snaps. He's just like, don't you fucking touch me. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you're sitting there, and it's like, okay, he's just this edgy swordsman guy, right? So he's just like, I don't like to be touched because I'm distant and I'm serious and emo, you know what I mean? That's like the original, that's like, I felt like there was more to it than that, but like, I didn't like, I didn't immediately jump to that conclusion, but I'm just like, all right, where is this going? And then very shortly after that, it doesn't take long when we get into, that's one of the first things that's done in the Golden Age arc with Donovan, I believe his name was. And you get to find out pretty goddamn quickly why Guts doesn't like to be touched. It's because he was sexually assaulted when he was a little kid. And when I read that chapter, I think that's actually where the Deluxe Edition Volume 1 ends, on that scene. And then I'm just, and that is one of the first, I think that was the first moment of reading Berserk where I just, like, shut the book, set it down, and was like, holy shit, we're going there. You know what I mean? Like, that happened a lot. That was a reoccurring thing in the story. Actually, you know what? So there were a lot of moments like that in the story. But after we got past the Eclipse, and I would say past the Conviction arc, I would say when we started getting into the Millennium Falcon arc, which, by the way, I love the fact it's called the Millennium Falcon arc. It's the Falcon of the Millennium Empire in the deluxe editions because of copyright reasons, but, like, I love the fact it's called the Millennium Falcon arc. But after that arc really got going. Okay. All right, we're back. We're back. Disney shut them down. I got shut down. Oh no, that's not good. Well, don't speak too soon. Hold on a moment. Great. I think we're holding steady. Yeah. I would assume. All right. Naturally, I arrived during the lag. Hi, Jack. How are you? Yeah, Miura being a low-key Star Wars nerd is so funny to me, where, like, there's so many just Star Wars references just sprinkled throughout the story. In just the not even sprinkled. They're like it's literally called the Millennium Falcon arc. I mean, it's like that's as overt as you can get. Okay, so as I was saying, after that point, I didn't have a lot of other moments where I was, like, really visibly shocked or disturbed, like, in that way of the stuff that, like the Eclipse was the apex of that. Like, I remember reading the chapters of Eclipse and just, like, at certain points, like, I'll just say, when we get to the scene with Griffith and Casca, I'm kind of skipping through pages because it just keeps going and going, and I'm like, oh, God, it's just, yeah, so I remember skipping kind of to the end of that and just having to take a moment to myself and be like, okay, that's where we're going with this. That's okay. Now I understand why everybody was talking about the Eclipse, right? So there was a moment, though, recently in the manga. It was during the Fantasia arc, where I think it might have been because I had not experienced that feeling in the manga for the last few volumes. But when we reached this point, I think it was in Volume 13. I think it was in the most recent one. Volume 14 is coming out, I think, in November. But there was one more scene that happened that just, it wasn't even anything. And you know what? I mean, you might be able to guess what it was because, you know, that there's only, like, kind of like a few moments that are really that big of a deal. You might be able to guess what it is. But upon seeing it, I had to set the book down and once again had to kind of collect myself, not because of what happened was so traumatic, but because of the symbolism and what it represented for a particular character. And just the meaning of a scene in a single panel bore, like, the weight of, like, 10,000 elephants just down on me at the moment, and I was like, oh, God, all right. The horse? No, it wasn't the horse. The horse was way back. The horse was, like, during the Conviction arc. I'm talking, like, recent. The Troll Cave. No, it wasn't even the Troll Cave. It's not a moment that's overly graphic. I'll tell you that much. It was not a moment that was overly graphic. In fact, there was no blood involved whatsoever. No blood, No real gore whatsoever. The slap? No, it was not the slap. So it was Casca's Mindscape, which was a very trippy series of chapters, but it wasn't that in general. So like, okay, I was gearing up for that. I was like, all right, we're going to go now into Casca's mind to repair her memories. There's going to be some fucked up symbolism in there. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this is going to be intense when Shierke and Farnese, oh god, Farnese? Yeah, it's Farnese. I think it's Shierke as well. That was another one. When that character was introduced, I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce your name. You know, how do you pronounce that? I think it's Shierke, I think. Okay. So they're in her mindscape, and the first thing they encounter is, I mean, they're kind of looking around, and they're like, okay, the eclipse is in the sky. That makes sense. These dark mountains are looming in the distance, covered in mountains, like spiny, like dark, you know, like you know, like thorns. The child reveal? No, but that was another one I didn't see coming. I wasn't. Okay. All right. The child reveal was obvious. I didn't think it was obvious. I didn't think it was obvious at all. I just assumed the child was the fairy king. I just assumed that. You know, by the way, Miura really did. Holy crap. Miura really honestly did pull a red herring there. You know, he really did, because like when the moon child showed up and was like hanging out with Casca so much, I was like, oh, this is obviously the Fairy King. Like, this is obviously, like, a fragment of the Fairy King. It makes perfect sense. It all lines up, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, even Shierke said so, and I'm like, yeah, see there, it's obvious. And that when the reveal happened, I was honestly blown away by that. I honestly did not see that coming. There was the foreshadowing earlier when Griffith was, it was the full moon, and he was with Charlotte, the princess, and he starts to cry, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's something going on there. But I did not connect the dots with that. I really didn't. Yeah. The child was only obvious to people who were waiting for years for the chapters to come out and handle infinite time to theorize. I guess so. Because if you just read the chapters like I did, like back to back, one after another, you know, within the span of like, you know, because yeah, at this point, Berserk was slowing in terms of production. Like, I probably, like, the last couple of these volumes probably took well over a decade for Miura to actually get out. There was a lot of hiatuses. So, you know, from the time the Moonlight Child first shows up to the time the reveal happens, which was like just happened in the manga, you know, in terms of like theorizing on YouTube, that was probably like the full length of YouTube. That was probably from like 2000. Actually, hold on. I have the wiki pulled up right here. Hold on a second here. I'm going to look this up. When did the Moonlight Boy first appear? Okay, the Moonlight Boy first appeared in the chapter Boy in the Moonlight. And when did that chapter come out? That chapter came out in 2004. So that chapter literally predated the beginning of YouTube. All right? So, you know, that happens. And so I read from that moment to when I was caught up was only about like 2 weeks, honestly, of me reading. So the difference is there. You had like literally almost 20 years to theorize who that kid really is, versus like I'm just reading this for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I just immediately assumed, oh, it was the Fairy King. Yeah, it's some avatar of the Fairy King that's gonna guide them to the island. You know, just like that made the most sense to me. Yeah, there were years where only a single chapter was made. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so going back to Casca's Mindscape, though, the moment that, and somebody said it the best in the chat, that was just like sheer depressing. I think honestly, I think it's the most depressing scene in all of Berserk. Having just read it and just giving you like a quick once-over of the whole series, the eclipse is certainly the most shocking moment. It's the most disturbing moment. But in terms of the most depressing moment, for me, they get into Casca's mindscape, and they meet the version of Guts that exists there. And Guts is like this kind of gaunt guard dog, kind of like Rottweiler. He's like just a rabid dog, which is the way Casca in her broken mind state views Guts, as like this dog who's scary, but is also protecting her. So that's like some conflicting things there of like, because Casca, when she loses her mind, is terrified of Guts, but she also kind of knows at least, okay, he is to be trusted, but he's scary, right? Yes, this dying guard dog, but the guard dog is missing a leg, as Guts is missing his arm. And so the dog is carrying this coffin. And Shierke and Farney are like, okay, so that coffin must contain, like, what Casca views herself in this mindscape. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, before they open it, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of, like, what would be the most disturbing thing? Because I think that's the way Miura is going to go with it. I think they're going to open up the casket, and it's going to be like the demon fetus thing in there. It's going to be some weird eldritch being that's like all distorted, and it's just I'm going that direction with it because of everything else that's happened in this story up until now. I'm thinking there's going to be some weird messed up Cthulhuoid eldritch being in this casket that just doesn't even resemble a human being, and that's how Casca views herself after the eclipse. And I'm like, I'm expecting that. And they open the casket, and it's a broken doll. It's a life-sized broken doll that's just smashed into like 100 pieces. So you can kind of make out half of the face, half of the chest. You can see the brand of sacrifice on Casca's chest, confirming it's her. And the rest of it is just a shattered, broken doll. I am not exaggerating. I probably spent a good 5 minutes in just absolute silence after seeing that page. After reading that page, I stared at that page for a couple of minutes. Then I set the book down. I just sat there. I didn't even have a genuine reaction. Okay. We good? All right. So I think it cut off at the worst possible moment where I was like, I set the book down and I just sat there in my recliner upstairs in my living room, and I'm just sitting there. And like no joke, literally just sat there in just awkward, somber reflection silence for probably like 5 minutes or so before I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to get up and do something. I'm going to get up and, I don't know, go for a walk or something. Yeah, that I think was the most depressing moment of Berserk. Yeah. That Pennsylvania internet made this reaction moment meaningless, Matt. Yeah, it really did. It if nothing else, it knows when to die exactly when I'm trying to be dramatic. Let's see here. It's sad Kentaro Miura left this world. Yeah, so I was reading I kind of looked up, I don't remember the exact chapter it was, but I looked up what chapter was the last chapter that Miura worked on, and I kind of was like, all right, I'm waiting for that chapter to happen, because then after that, it's not him anymore that's drawing it. or writing it, and either. And so we got to that point, and oh my god. All right, hold on a moment. Oh man. All right. All right, I am going to... You look tired. Well, yeah. Thought it was my internet at first. It is not your internet, no. It's never your internet. It's still dropped. All right, I think that's what I'm going to do. Hold on a moment, everybody. I'm going to go and mess with something upstairs really quick to see if I can get this working better. I thought your Wi-Fi got better. I'm not on the Wi-Fi. It's a story. I'm going to go and mess with some stuff. I'll be right back. Just hang tight. Be right back. Okay. I had to run upstairs and adjust something really quick. I think it might be working now. This should be better. Which is good, because if this works, then I know what the problem is. If it works now, then I'm pretty confident I know what the problem is and what not to do in the future, and then we'll be good. All right. Teching, I thought you almost sacrificed us. Jeez. Yeah, the 4 gig. Yeah, it's another story. That's after I messed with stuff, and I was like, okay, we'll go back to the way it was, because the way it was working was fine. All right. That was fast. Yeah, well, I had to be fast because if I don't fix the stream within, I think it's like a minute, YouTube just ends the stream. And I really don't want to break this up into like Berserk Part 1, Berserk Part 2, Berserk Part 3. So I'm like, I had to like book it upstairs really quick and like unplug this from the router and then unplug the modem and then plug this back in really quick and just like, just get everything ready to go. But it's working now, so it's fine. Okay. He's probably uploading a video. No, I'm not. So what was the problem? I don't want to talk about internet crap because it's just annoying every time I have to explain everything. Yes. Now it seems cool. Yeah, so just keep it like this is basically the impression I'm getting here. Yeah. Nope, this will have spoilers mentioned. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're definitely spoiling a lot of stuff about the series, yeah. Will there be chapter reviews in the future? So the last chapter, we can talk about that. That was, let me just double check what the chapter was called. I think it was like Red was something in the title. It was, Rusty. Oh, wait, no. Oh, there's a new chapter. Oh, okay. I didn't even read the new chapter. All right, so the new chapter is chapter 373, The Rusty Iron Rings That Bind. That's a metal chapter for a number of reasons. The last chapter I read was chapter 372, which was The Red Raven Sleeps in the Birdcage. So live new chapter review. I mean, honestly, we could. I mean, yeah. There are the Studio Gaga chapters. What do you mean by Studio Gaga chapters? Just like the ones that were made after Miura. Yeah, so I mean, I'm reading them and I'm like, okay, clearly this is a different like artist and stuff. But like, I don't think there was really anything that off about the storyline. You could tell they were really thorough with that. Like, I feel like they wouldn't have bothered trying to finish Berserk if they had no idea they could do it. You know what I mean? Like, if it was a thing where it's like, okay, Miura is dead, there is no way that we could possibly finish the story. And obviously, if Miura was still alive, the way the story would go would be different. It was not like he would do it exactly the same way as they're doing it now. But I feel like they had a good grasp on the story from what Miura told his best friend of like what's going to happen, to the point where it's like, okay, I think we can do this with Miura's friend and with all of his assistants that had been working with him for years. You know, I think that's like, okay, we can do this. You know, we can fulfill his dream to finish this series. Yeah, Miura outlined the entire story to his friend. Miura's best friend knows everything. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to think about it. It's like, God forbid, imagine if Oda were to die in some horrible accident, right? Like, would you just want One Piece to just be unfinished? You know, it's just like, well, he's gone, and just that's it. Like, would you want it to be unfinished? No, it's like, no, there's somebody that can finish this, right? There's somebody that Oda told his ideas to someone, right? Like, you know, yeah. Yeah, the current head author is Miura's best friend for 30 plus years. So yeah, I think they got a pretty good handle on it. Yeah. Yeah. Please don't say that. I know, I'm just saying this as a comparison to what happened here. Although I will also say, I think the situation that happened with Miura really changed the viewpoints of a lot of higher ups in the manga industry, and they're giving a lot more mangakas like time to recuperate and rest. They're being a little bit more lenient with that because, you know, the work culture in Japan has always been like kind of like, okay, you gotta work. That's just like in the culture. It's just like, okay, if you don't work, you're lazy. You know, you got to get to it, work benches, and then just waking up to go to work the next day, you know, just in their same clothes. We're losing a connection again, so that didn't help. All right, well, at least that I know that doesn't help. So if nothing else, there we go. Oh, man. Only a moment, though. Yeah, that was only a little blip. It was only a little blip. I'm watching you. Dropped frames. That wasn't as bad, though. Okay, that's okay. It was short, in fairness. We're still here this time. All right. All right. Just a lag spike. Nothing to be too scared of here. I even lowered the bitrate for this, too. I went down to 3,000. Guts being sorrowful is relatable. Okay, so let's talk about that. Like, all right, so Guts, like I said, at the beginning of the story, he's a man on the mission. After what happens with the Eclipse and with the Band of the Hawk and Griffith, he's like, okay, I'm going to murder as many apostles as I can. I'm going to find Griffith, and I'm going to kill him. All right? Like, and that was his goal. And that's very standard anime protagonist goal, right? It's like, somebody really destroyed and ruined my life and ruined the people that, like, ruined the lives of the people that I care about. I'm going to find this son of a bitch, and I'm going to murderify him. And that's how it's going to go, right? I'm going to murder him. So we follow that, and honestly, Guts kind of reaches that point in the first arc where he goes into that little interslice place, like the MC Escher drawing with the stairs, and he meets Femto, like, immediately. And he tries to fight him, and he can't even touch him. And so then we go into the Golden Age to really establish what's up with Griffith and everything, and what happened with the Band of the Hawk and everybody that died, and then the Eclipse, and it's like, okay, we're brought up to speed now on where this is going. And throughout the story, as I said, this weighs down Guts more and more and more, where his rage does not, like, abate. His rage is still there. It's just that you can feel the wariness of his soul as it continues on. Like, he just, like, keeping this up all the time, being haunted by demons in the night. Not just the demons that come out and are just like, we're going to attack you, and then Guts just cuts them down, but the demons that fuck with your head, that, like, attach to you and make you see things that aren't there. And then there's his own, you know, his own soul that, and then through the Berserk armor as well, we get later with the image of the dog and everything like that. And just like, oh, your own rage will drag you down someday. You know, it's going to happen, right? So it's that over and over and over again. To then finally it reaches that point recently in the manga when Griffith shows up at the Elf Island, and then Guts once again goes to attack him, and he can't do shit. It can't do shit to him. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and then Guts, not only can he not do shit to Griffith kidnaps Casca and leaves and gets away, and then Guts is just like, at that point you can feel just how he breaks. Like, you can kind of pinpoint the moment where Guts, his psyche and everything, it just breaks. His motivation to get rid of Griffith, you know, his companions that he cares for, everything that's happened through his life, his brain just shatters. And he just, you know, as you said in the chat, just completely sorrowful. That's exactly what he does. That's where he's at right now. And I don't think in the manga, unless I read the most recent chapter, we still don't know, like, how he's going to get out of that. You know, it's just like, imagine it's just like, okay, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to solve this problem. For one thing, after the moment, like, he gets to the God Hand, and they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter that you killed a bunch of apostles or demons. Like, we don't care. Like, we're so far above this, we do not give a shit. You know, you've basically exterminated, like, small, like dust mites compared to us. You know, like, they care. So, in and of itself, Wait. Okay. So, you get so just being brutally honest with the whole reality of the God Hand and everything, they tell Guts, yeah, what you're doing means nothing to us. And it really doesn't. Like, Guts going around and cutting down all these demons and stuff that are attacking him in the night, it means nothing in the grand scheme. I mean, like, it means something to the people that he saves. It means something to his companions that he fights in this tenacity. But in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the realm of the God Hand, it matters not. They do not care. Berserk and One Piece are top tier anime, manga, shonen. No, they're not shonen. Manga stories. Yeah, they're not shonens. They're both not shonens anyway. Skull Knight can F up the God Hand. Can he, though? Can he, though? Okay, so Skull Knight, let's talk about Skull Knight. Okay, so Skull Knight's badass. I like any knight that has skulls. Pretty much like the Yu-Gi-Oh card Skull Knight. Yeah, any knight that has a skull armor basis, I mean, yeah, that's already automatically cool. I do find it funny that most of the time whenever he does show up, I mean, yeah, he looks awesome, but it's just like, he shows up, lays down some cryptic knowledge on Guts, and then just fucks off. You know, it's just like, it's like, the eclipse is coming 1 year hence. Bye. And then it just leaves. You know, I love how that happens often. Now, he does do stuff. He does help Guts out a few times. He gives him a ride on the horse. And, of course, he has the kind of like rivalry with Zod. But, you know, that happens a lot throughout the story, where Zod will show up, and then, like, Guts is like, oh, man, I have to fight this guy again. And then Skull Knight shows up, and he's like, I will take care of him. Do not worry. I got this. And he's like, okay. And then Guts does something else. And so Skull Knight and Zod, they clash, like, at least, I think, 3 times in the manga. They have that interaction. And so, honestly, like, Skull Knight was starting to lose me a little bit beyond his cool appearance. Like, he aesthetically looks amazing, and Miura's art really brings that, you know, to life. But, like, after a while, I was like, Skull Knight, are you gonna, like, do anything? Like, are you gonna actually sit down with Guts and explain the whole, like, what's going on here? Or are you just here to fight Zod and be cryptic? Is that, like, all you're here to do? You know? Yeah, he's dead, though, so it does make sense he can't do much. It's just like, yeah, that is fair. But we got in the last arc where we've really we did kind of sit down with Skull Knight a little bit, and he talked a little bit about himself and how he was a previous wearer of the Berserk armor, and that kind of turned him into what he is now. And so this kind of turns it into a cautionary tale for Guts, where he's like, you know, the Skull Knight is like this 1,000-year-old, might even be older than that. I think it might be like 8 or 9,000-year-old being, this king from like days and days and days long past. And it's like, this is his existence, and he's warning Guts that, like, if you continue down your path of rage and vengeance, you will reach the point where you become like me. You become this kind of pseudo-immortal that's bound into this form, and you're just living out your life in vengeance, kind of. No, it was 1,000 years ago. Okay. Yeah. Why don't we feel that way about Shanks? Because I think, well, Shanks shows up way less than the Skull Knight in Berserk, for one thing. Shows up fairly normally. In fact, when Skull Knight first showed up at Guts' campfire, when Guts is just camping out one night, and Skull Knight just rolls up to the campfire and is just like, Knew it. All right, we're back. So the Skull Knight rolls up to Guts' campfire one night and just kind of looks at him and is just kind of like, so, hey, what's going on? Guts is like, not much. What's going on with you, man? He's like, oh, well, there's this thing called the eclipse. It's going to happen in a year. It's going to be pretty nuts. You're going to be involved. Griffith's going to be involved. A lot of messed up things are going to go down, so just get ready. He's like, okay. And then he leaves. And I thought at that moment we weren't going to see Skull Knight for like 400 chapters or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, is this going to be a Shanks situation? Or it's like, okay, we get to meet the Skull Knight, and then, like, you know, cut to like 10 years later, we still don't know what's up with him. I mean, we still don't know what's up with him, but he shows up way more often than Shanks does. All right. At least we have the sound not cutting. Oh, the sound is still going. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Oh, man. Did you read the chapter? Yes. We're dropping frames again, but I'm assuming you can hear me, so I'm going to keep on talking, I guess. All right. We have never seen Void was turned into... Oh, Giersik and Void before Void was turned into a demon. That's another thing, too. And you know what? That's not a weakness. I'm actually happy about that. And it kind of goes along with Chapter 83. And so it's the fact that we still don't really know anything about the God Hand. We know that the God Hand are a series of individuals that were each created during an eclipse with the Crimson Behelit. I guess I'm pronouncing that right. And Griffith just happens to be the last member of their little group, the God Hand, so 5 fingers. And, so Griffith becomes Femto. Just recently, well, at least recently in the chapter numbers, this probably happened like 7 years ago in the actual release, but we see a flashback of Skull Knight 1,000 years ago, and Void is still there, which, by the way, Void's design I love. Void has, like, one of the most cool designs in terms of, like, a demon. He's just this brain demon with his eyes sewn shut. It's like, all right, that works. So Void is there, but there's, like, a bunch of other members of the God Hand that we're not familiar with right now, right? And who's the boss of the God Hand? The head? Well, yeah, it's not Void. Void is the oldest member of the God Hand, but he doesn't call the shots. Void is not the strongest being ever. He's not God. That's actually God. So this is something that I don't think I've ever encountered before in manga, and that's something that, that's a reoccurring line to say when you're discussing Berserk, right? Like, I don't think I've ever encountered this before. Yeah, so you have Chapter 83, which was serialized in the magazine back when it was first released. This was an old chapter. It came out, in July of 1996. I was 3 years old when this chapter came out. So it was released in the magazine, but it was not released in the tankobons. They skip it in the tankobons. Even in the deluxe editions, it's not included. Why is this? It's because Miura himself specifically asked for the chapter to be omitted. Here we go again. Okay, now we're crashing. Now we're crashing. Wait. I don't want to prematurely restart the stream when we're like, okay. All right. I was watching you, Frames. You sit tight over there, Frames. Yeah. There's another thing I could try, but it might make things worse. There's another thing I could try upstairs, but it might make things worse. Do I want to play with fire here? Try it. Oh, man. So, It was not because this chapter was anything gory or bloody or anything like that or something like super graphic. I mean, we just, like, if you look at the freaking eclipse, it's just like, oh no, yeah. When it comes to graphic, Miura is not going to shy away from that shit. But it was a chapter called God of the Abyss Part. Okay. All right, I'm thinking here. Dude, it lags right when I'm about to get in the topic. Like, no, it's truly remarkable. I could sit here and talk about ice cream flavors for like 10 minutes, and it won't drop a single frame. But then as soon as I'm done with okay, guys, that's enough talking about ice cream flavors. Now we're going to talk about Berserk Chapter 83. That's when it will drop frames like crazy. That's when it'll just go nuts, you know? Yeah, let Tekken cook, YouTube. Yeah, that's the most annoying thing, where I'm trying to get on a roll and it just crashes. Yeah. Did the stream just start? You know what? Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. Remarkably, though, it is still all one stream. It is still all one stream, so it should be up in the VOD as one video, not, like, broken up into 10 different sections, thankfully. Okay. So I'm going to start getting into the topic now, so prepare those frames to be dropped in about 5 seconds. Okay. So, the reason why Miura chose not to include Chapter 83 was because he felt like he was giving a limit to the god of his world and what this god being could actually do. Griffith speaks with God directly. God speaks back with him, or rather the idea of evil. That's the term it is used. The idea of evil comes about when human beings back in the day were just filled with so much suffering, they needed to come up with some explanation on why bad things happened to them. And so the idea of evil was like birthed out of this human desire to have some sort of reason behind evil deeds. Okay, so it kind of brings up the question of whether or not the idea of evil existed prior to humans, or humans created the idea of evil. The implication, at least in the Chapter 83, which has been omitted since then, is that humans kind of created the idea of evil. That's kind of what happened. Now, I read this chapter. I 100% read this chapter. Now, if you are reading Berserk, keep in mind, once you get to Chapter 82 and it skips over 83, you don't need to go and read this chapter. It's not like you're going to be... Because Miura, I don't think... Miura's been kind of like hit or miss when it comes to whether or not this chapter's canon. He kind of, you know, like the way he talks about it, I don't think he ever comes out... I think he said this chapter is not canon in the manga, but like the idea of evil itself might still be canon. Because the idea of evil shows up at the end of Chapter 82. Like, when Griffith is going into the ascension process and he's becoming a member of the God Hand, he gets, like, sucked down into the vortex, and he's, like, falling and falling and falling, and he's like, what is this? Where am I? Who are you? Are you God? And then you just see the end of Chapter 82 with Griffith just falling down into this abyss. And there's this swirling, like, amorphous thing down there, and it's like, are you God? And then in the next chapter, yeah, it's God, okay? So, I understand why Miura omitted it, though, because he's like, yeah, because now I'm giving God, like, measurable abilities, that what he can do. And in the chapter itself, it basically talks about how the idea of evil kind of guides everything. He kind of shapes the history of the world in a particular path, which is the path of causality. And like everything that kind of happened up until now kind of leads to it. Like the process of Griffith losing the Behelit and then eventually finding it again and then awakening the power. Like all of that was like God is the one that's like, no, it's on a track. I'm the one that guides it. I'm the one that puts everything where it needs to be for the causality to happen. All right? So I can understand why Miura omitted that after he drew it and published it. I could see him there way back in the day, kind of like struggling over that, like, this is gonna, because this could limit me later, because I'm measuring what God is capable of in this universe. Okay, so it's like, I think it's better to be left ambiguous. So the chapter exists. It's out there. You can read it. You could probably just look on the Berserk Reddit, and it's on there, and you could read it. You could search for it. I don't remember what site I read it off of, but I found 83, and I read it. The quality's not great, because literally it never existed in tankobon format. It never did. So I think the only way that it existed was in the magazine. So they would just literally have to scan the magazine back in like 96 and then just keep it until present day and then translate it that way. So the quality is not great, but if you want to read it, I'd say it is a pretty fascinating chapter, but it's not technically canon with the rest of the story right now. Evil does not have a limit. Yeah, I think that's the better way of doing it. And to be fair, the idea of evil, the form that it takes, which is, the form it takes is like an amorphous heart, like a big giant demon heart with a bunch of arteries that are spewing like, you know, fog or mist. And then Griffith is there like floating and like communing with the damn thing. And it's like, in terms of an idea for what the idea of evil, what God would like look like, I think Miura picked a very interesting way of drawing that. But it's still, it's like, it would be better if it just didn't exist, or it just didn't explain its existence. You know? What was Tekking's favorite arc? So Berserk doesn't really have that many story arcs. It's just a lot of story arcs are really long. I would probably say the Golden Age. I would probably say the Golden Age arc was my favorite. That was when I felt the most emotion for the characters. That was when I had the most, like, you know, reactions to it, like, oh my God, you know, like that kind of stuff. And I said, during the Conviction arc, a few times that happened. The scene with the horse and Farnese, that was a moment where, you know, and then after that, though, it was like, I'm still reading the story. I'm still very, very much invested in what's happening to the characters and what's progressing in the plot and everything. But it wasn't until the moment with Casca, her form being that broken doll, is when I really was like, okay, this is another kind of like, moment for like different reasons than like the eclipse. Let's read some super chats. That's a good idea. Let's read some super chats here. I did get a few, and if I saw a few that were really, really good there. I just had to keep restarting the stream, so I apologize for that. Let's see here. Trey sent me $50, so I got to respond to Trey. Usually watch for One Piece content, but today is my wife's, Amber Lee's, birthday, and she's a huge fan too. Also recently welcomed our daughter, Zamora Lee, into the world. Would you mind shouting them out for her special day? Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday, Trey's fan. $50. Ugh. Just when we get on the roll. Just when we get on a roll. Happy birthday to who, Matt? Yeah, yep, right in the middle. Right in the middle. Like I said, it picks the perfect time. Happy birthday to Amber. Happy birthday to Zamora. Happy birthday to all of Trey's family. Happy birthday, and thank you so much for the $50. Yes. I apologize that the internet crapped out the exact moment I was reading your super chat. Review the newest Berserk chapter on stream. I might very well do that. I might do that near the end. Okay, internet, being a dick now. Let that family have their birthday wish. Somebody also asked me in the chat, and I was beginning to answer it when it crashed. Who's my favorite member of the Band of Hawk? And I was thinking, like, okay, do you mean the original Band of the Hawk or the reborn Band of the Hawk? Because they're two different characters. Surprise, Griffith is not my favorite character in either capacity. My favorite member before the eclipse was easy. It's Pippin. I loved Pippin. Pippin was so cool. He's this big guy, and he's like, he doesn't talk much. He's very stoic, but when he does talk, it's like very like, oh shit, serious things are going down. He saves everybody in the tunnel from the fire. You know, I really wanted Pippin to survive. I really wanted Pippin to be around. I knew he wasn't gonna be, because no one ever talked about him. I know nobody gave a shit about Pippin or anything, but like, man, I wanted Pippin. If I could pick one Band of the Hawk member to survive the eclipse other than Guts and Casca, I would have picked Pippin. Dude, I'll tell you what, man. If it was Guts and Pippin against Griffith, they would have won. They would have just absolutely sliced him. No way, man. R.I.P. Pippin. I loved Pippin. No. He died. Oh, he got it brutal. If you remember the way he died. He, like, walks over during the eclipse, and then they're looking at, like, Guts is looking at him like, Pippin, you're okay. And then he's just like, and then it pans off, and, like, the entire, like, back half of his body has just been carved out. So, like, the front of him still looks the same, but, like, he has nothing. It's like he's completely hollow. It's like he was just emptied out of all of his organs, and only, like barely some of his flesh remains to, like, see his face. He's like, and then he dies. Yeah, Jude died pretty bad as well. His was pretty brutal. I actually don't remember the way Jude died. So, hey, he was cool. I liked him. You know, he got scooped. Yeah, that's how Pippin died. He got scooped. Yeah, Pippin's actually the only one I remember specifically how he died. I don't remember how Corcus died, and I don't remember how Jude died. Yeah. He called him Jude. Yeah, because I don't know how to pronounce his name. Like, literally, I don't. Is it Judo? Is it Jude? I don't know how to pronounce his fucking name. So I'm just gonna, hey, Jude, how are you doing? You know? Judo. It's just Judo. I could call him Judo. All right. It's just Judo. Oh, okay. That's easy then. Yeah, it's just Judo. All right, cool. I thought it was like Judo. There was like an S sound in there somewhere. I was like, okay. It's like, hey, Jude. Yes. Now I remember. Yes, Judo was protecting Casca, and then he died. Yeah, he held on for a little while too. I remember that, 'cause they were riding through the horses in the demon realm in, like, hell, basically. Yeah. Corcus's libido got him killed. Yeah. Now I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. That actually, I remember that scene because there was a scene in Gantz where a character dies in a similar way. Where there's a scene in Gantz where there's an alien that can transform, and it also takes very abstract MC Escher forms. And at one point, it turns into a giant naked lady made of smaller naked ladies. And there's one dude that just gets sucked into that, and then that's how he dies. So, yeah, that scene where the way Corcus died, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah, there you go. About that moment, about that scene. So you got to understand that, like, Miura does not introduce these characters like Corcus and Judo and Pippin to just die, right? He doesn't just introduce them for a couple of chapters. No, we spend years and years of serialization with these characters. Okay, this is not just like this isn't like the beginning of Goblin Slayer where, like, we get introduced in the main cast of characters in Goblin Slayer for like the first 10 minutes and then they all get killed. No, this is like we spend time with these characters. All right, I gave a shit about Pippin. I was actually interested in his character. All right, I wanted to see him do stuff. Yeah, it was almost 100 chapters. Almost 100 chapters. Do you know where One Piece was at? Almost 100 chapters in? By the time the Eclipse chapter happened, and keep in mind, you know, Berserk is a monthly serialization and One Piece is weekly, so different chapter lengths and shit. But this would be like in One Piece if, like, after Arlong Park, like, Sanji, Usopp, and Zoro just all died. And then it was just Luffy and Nami that survived. It'd just be like, what the fuck? You know, like, that's kind of what we're dealing with here, right? They were inspired from his friends, which, yeah, I read that, which also makes it more kind of fucked up. Yeah. High-teching, out of theme, once I heard you mention Bleach joke about Aizen and Urahara opening rival restaurants in Karakura, and something clicked in my memories, then I remembered Bleach, happy to serve you. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with Berserk, but thanks, Fernando, for the $20. Actually, the Gantz guy lived. Yeah, Kuwabara guy. Yeah, that was he survived that. Huh. I don't remember that. I need to go back and reread Gantz. Yeah. At that point of the Band of the Hawk die, a little under 3/4 of the series had been in the golden age. Yeah, 40% of Tekking viewers aren't ready for Berserk. Yeah, I can tell. How would Tekking die in the eclipse? Oh God, I would have died. I mean, it would be pretty brutal. I mean, okay, so here's the comparison. I was trying to figure out a really good way to compare the scene with all the Band of Hawk members just getting massacred at the eclipse. Okay, and I came up with this as kind of like a metaphor. Okay, so imagine you're playing D&D, right? Imagine you get together with your friends and you have the DM and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm going to play a little bit of a different kind." Ah! Can you let me can I get through a damn metaphor? Can I please cook? It's like I'm starting to cook a meal and I'm like 2 minutes into chopping onions and then somebody just grabs the onion and just throws it into a freaking incinerator and it's like, "Start over." It's like, "All right, I'll chop more onions," and then they grab it and throw it away again. Like, "Start over." I'm like, let me cook. Let him cook, damn it. Let me cook, damn it. All right. Okay, here we go. Basically, if he was playing through an OG Tomb of Annihilation. No, it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that. Okay, so going back to the D&D metaphor. You're playing D&D. You get together with a bunch of friends. There's like 4 players, and then there's the DM, so there's 5 of you, okay? And, the DM sits down, and he's kind of like, "Okay, guys, I want to do a little bit like, we're going to play D&D, but it's going to be kind of like light magic D&D. Like, there will be some magical elements, but we're not going to go too crazy with it. It's mainly going to be about, like, you guys are going to be knights, you guys are going to be soldiers, you're going to be all, like, fighters or rogues or stuff like that. Not really going to be that much magic." And it is a... Mm? Okay, we're back. I'm just going to get back into it. Fuck it. I'm just getting back into it. All right, so you start the campaign, right? You're playing the campaign. You're playing this campaign for like 2 or 3 years. All right, it's a long campaign. You're doing it, and you're having fun. And you're building up all of these characters and stuff. You have your characters, and it's like you start adding in backstory to them and intrigue, and it's like you care about these characters, and you've been through a bunch of really difficult fights, and some of the fights, maybe some of your characters almost died, but you managed to get away. You managed to, beat the enemy down. And it's like you feel genuinely connected to these characters. You feel like I feel connected to William's character in One Piece D&D. You know what I mean? Like you play a D&D character for several years on a campaign, like one campaign. You become attached to those characters. You care about those characters. You develop a repertoire with your friends. That kind of stuff, right? It's fun. It's fun. So you're doing this for about, let's say, 3 years of a campaign. And all of a sudden, you're... Okay. I don't... Okay, I don't... Oy, oy, oy. Oy, 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 oy. No cooking allowed in this kitchen. We don't cook in this kitchen, I'll tell you what. Tekking, please blink. I'm stuck in this, form right here. All of a sudden, what? All right. Yeah, at this point, I'll tell you what, guys. At this point, when the stream dies and I come back, just tell me the last thing I said so I just know where to pick back up at this point. All right. Okay, so you're playing the campaign for several years, and you're really... I can't even get through a fucking sentence! Just like... Ay, 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 ay. Ugh. Okay. All right, we're back. Okay, we're back. Fixed. No, it's not fixed, but we're back. Okay. Yeah. All right, so I can continue the story. I can continue the story. Am I allowed to? Can I finish the story? Can I finish the metaphor? I am the struggler. I am the struggler for my Wi-Fi. Yeah. Tekking, you look 20 at age 30. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I will try to continue the metaphor. All right, so you're doing this campaign, and then all of a sudden your DM sits you down one day, and he's like, okay. All right. Hold on. I'm going to try something. I want to try something here. All right. And then the most important part of the story happens right about now. I'm just like waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. So then, the absolute craziest thing that all of you wouldn't believe, just like that's when it'll crash. Oh, yeah. Causality is a cruel mistress indeed. Oh, indeed. You can't trick the internet. It won't happen until you bring up the metaphor again. All right, let's do that. You know what? It's a challenge at this point. It's a challenge at this point. All right, so you're walking through the happy little field, you and your party, you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden the DM is like, boom, you are now in hell. And then the whole campaign is just, the whole party just stops and just like, what? It's like, yeah, you're in hell. The field you were walking in is just completely warped into like this fleshy, bloody, gory wasteland, and it's raining blood, and the sky is black with this eclipse in the air, and just like demons start beginning to squirm out of the ground. And once again, it's like, very light kind of campaign on magic up until now. Like, you might have encountered some magical forces, but nothing that crazy. You're mainly just soldiers in an army, and you're rising through the ranks and gaining prestige and status and all that kind of shit, and courting and stuff like that, like at the, you know, the fancy castle balls, and that's the kind of shit you're doing. And then all of a sudden, the DM, without any warning, is just like, you're in hell now. And it's like, oh shit, well, what do we do? Well, demons come out of the ground, and they start devouring your friends. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess roll for initiative, right? Oh, no. No, you're not rolling for shit. There is no initiative. A demon just comes out of the ground and just bites your legs off and just, I don't get to roll to save? It's like, no, you can't save against this. This is a goddamn demon from hell. This thing is beyond your fucking level. You guys are like level 6. These things are like level 42. That doesn't even exist in D&D, but that's what they are. And so they just start reaching out and just devouring you. And then just the DM just sits there in his chair, and just as the entire party is just like doesn't know what to do, the DM just brutally and just very viscerally describes how each and every one of you die. How it's like, oh, you are bitten from each different limb from a different demon, and your arms and legs are just ripped off as you hear the popping and the tearing of your muscles and bones. And then you're on the ground without arms or legs, gasping for breath as finally another demon comes over and just completely rips your head off. You know, this other guy just like stabs you and just right up from the start. And then the DM just goes on and on about this for like 10 minutes, just describing how each of you die in the most brutally explicit way. And then that's it. And then that's the end of the campaign. And then it's like, all right, guys, well, that was the campaign. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah. That would be like what this was. That was a metaphor that should have taken me about 5 minutes to get through, and I think it took like 20. So, yeah. Yeah, roll to attack. No, you can't. I mean, you can't attack it misses. You can't. Okay, you roll to swing your sword only to find out your hand is missing because a demon sliced it off, because the demon can move 10 times faster than you ever could, even on your best day. You know, the demons get an auto crit plus an auto crit plus 100 to their rolls. You can't do anything against them. You know. There. We got to the end of the goddamn metaphor. Okay. Also, going along with, since we were talking about the Band of the Hawk, my favorite member of the Reborn Band of the Hawk in the current story is Irving, who's like the Robin Hood dude that's blind that turns into like the wolf. He turns into like a reverse centaur, except it's like a dog, and instead of it being behind him, it's in front of him. He kind of looks like a smile user from One Piece, but way more badass. It's not goofy. I mean, it kind of looks a little goofy, but it's really badass. Yeah. So I liked Pippin and I liked Irving. There you go. Same. Yeah. And he's the one that kind of gets focused on the most. Like, Locust gets focused on a little bit, and then there's the big dragon guy. I think he gets focused on a little bit, but I think Irving gets focused on the most. Yeah. All right, so going back to the Super Chats, let's see here. Okay. All right. Back to the Super Chats. I don't even know where I left off. Where did I leave off? I don't even know where I left off. Somebody tell me where I left off. I think I'm going to be ending the stream after this just because it's not working out. I'll try to get through the rest of the Super Chats, and if it lets me, then I think I'm just going to end the stream. We could do another Berserk stream another day. Don't worry about it. But, like, this is just, ugh. This is rough, man. This is rough. Let's see. You just said, let's see here. I didn't even get into reading the Super Chat. Oh, my God. I read, like, 3 of them. All right. What's the best plot twist in anime? That's by Jack. I just said it's Aizen's betrayal in Bleach because I rewatched that recently. What's the best furry convention you've gone to? Never been to a furry convention, although I've been to Tekko, which, you know, furries walk around Tekko, so that was fun. But I've never been to a furry convention. Has One Piece had a better arc than Return to Shiganshina? Yeah, it depends on your opinion on the matter. I think it has. The horse was the most shocking to me. Eclipse was messed up, though. Yeah, that horse really messed up people. I think that horse really caused a lot of nightmares for years to come, which, to be fair, that horse was one of the scenes where I was like, whoa. But I would say the Eclipse was more graphic, definitely. Let's see. Anas has sent $2. Just thank you for that. Let's see. Love you, Tekking Woo. First time catching live. Well, being live is kind of debatable right about now, but yeah. You are the reason I am able to stay sane at work. Definitely my favorite YouTuber, hands down. Well, thank you. Thank you. By the way, you know, Guts just like me, for real. He is totally. Okay, Belkin, Guts is just like you. Gotcha. That's, dude, if you were just like Guts, I would feel you need to go see a therapist. You need to go see, like, a team of therapists. You need to go see a team of the best therapists from all countries of the world together to form a council of therapists, because that's about what Guts needs right about now. Yeah. Miura is hands down my favorite modern artist. His environment details are insane. The big splash pages of Falconia is perfect. Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to talk about all this stuff. We didn't even get a chance to talk about all of everything. Oh, man. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. It's like, Guts is a protagonist of this story where you don't want to be like him. You don't want to look, not because he's, like, mean, although at the beginning he is, and he's very aloof later on. Even by the time they reach the island, he's definitely softened a lot more, and he's become way better of a character, like just the way he's written. But he's definitely not a super friendly guy that you just want to pal around with. But also, like, you know, if you're, like, watching Bleach and you're like, man, I want to be just like Ichigo, or if you're reading Naruto and you're like, man, I want to be just like Naruto. Dude, if you're reading Berserk and you're like, man, I want to be just like Guts, it's like, that's, no. Either you fundamentally don't understand his journey in the story, or you got a lot of problems. Like, a lot of problems. You know? Yeah. But yeah, I didn't even get a chance to, like, Falconia, like, the whole arc where they fight against the Emperor, you know, and like, that alone is something that's so cool to talk about. And then, like, the World Tree, and then Falconia being created, and then the Fantasia event, like, oh, man. It is time for strugglers to unite. So glad this stream is on my day off, since I absolutely love Berserk, and that OP edit was perfection. Yes, go check out the link to that in the description below. Before you leave, could you please tell us about D&D Marines? When will D&D Marines gonna please... Oh, it's gonna start on June 8th. Rustage already mentioned that, if you didn't see it. June 8th is gonna be the first episode of Marines. I don't want to be like Guts. I don't want to, but his will is admirable. His will is admirable, but, like, it's just gonna, as the Skull Knight said, it's just like, if you continue on this path, you know, you're going to just collapse. It's going to ruin you. All right? Like, you know, the fact that Guts was able to last this long in and of itself is insanely commendable, yes, but it's still leading toward a dead end. Okay? So whatever happens to Guts moving forward in the story is going to be insanely relevant for him. Okay? He can't just go back to doing the same thing he always did. He's going to now have, I think we might be having like a moment where Guts is going to have this big retrospective moment on everything he's done and what he actually needs to do now, because he can't just keep doing the same shit he's always been doing, you know? He's just physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. And if he pushes on any further than this, that'll mean the end of him. And he'll just become the next Skull Knight. Which is not, as the Skull Knight said, it's not something you would want to do. It's not some state of being you want to be in, you know? Yeah, he's losing his senses altogether. He's literally losing, yeah, like literally, as in he's losing like his sense of taste and his sense of sight, but he's also, I think, losing his sense of self a bit as well. Like, yeah. He's losing everything he is. If this continues, he will be a vehicle and an avatar for vengeance and rage. He will no longer be a human being. He will no longer have human senses. He will no longer have, like, he won't really even have his body, his form anymore. That will devolve. That will be completely absorbed by the Berserk armor, so to speak. Of course, now it's letting me cook. Did he have a sense of self to begin with? Oh, yes! He did, dude. The whole reason why Guts left the Band of the Hawk way back in the day, the whole reason he went off on his own was because he had a moment of realization. He had an epiphany where up until that moment, he was just perfectly happy just serving Griffith. And he's like, I will just serve Griffith and I will bow down before him. But then he overheard Griffith talking about how he views the other members of the Hawk, the way Griffith views his underlings. And he basically says something to the effect of like, you know, I don't really think that highly of them. I don't view them as friends in that way. I don't view them as equals, certainly. And that opened up Guts' mind where it's like, I can't be living the rest of my life in the shadow of someone else. I can't be living the rest of my life trying to please this other person. You know, I don't even know what I want. He realizes he doesn't know what he needs, but he knows he's not going to get it here while he's under Griffith. And he wants Griffith to view him as an equal. He wants him to view him as a friend and an equal, and he wants to stand on equal terms with Griffith. Because as it stands right now, Griffith is up here, and he views every member of the Band of the Hawk down here. Now, whether or not Griffith was being like, he was saying that, like that's actually how he felt, that's up for debate. I don't think he actually felt like that. I think that was just something he said that Guts overheard, you know, for like just dramatic effect or whatever, or maybe just to kind of like push down Griffith's own emotions. But that's the reason why Guts left to begin with, because he's like, I need to go out on my own. I have no idea what I'm looking for. That's why I'm journeying, you know? Yeah. Ugh. Who's your favorite member of Guts' new group? Oh, Serpico. Easy. Serpico. Farney, I didn't really care for much at first. Her stuff was, well, like, okay, when we were doing the Conviction arc and the Black Chain little saga, and it's like, okay, oh, she's into some rough stuff. Okay, I see where we're going with this. Okay, I see where we're going with this. And then the horse shit happens, and then Guts kills it. But later on, when they delve into Farney's backstory with her father and how, like, you know, how much like anxiety she has about being back there in the Holy See and encountering her dad, and then like, okay, that's another character. Okay, who in Berserk does not need therapy? Who doesn't need therapy in this story? Really? Like, you know what? Puck. Puck does pretty good. You know what? There's a chapter where Puck is around, and Puck is just like, if I wasn't here, this entire story would be so dark. That's why I'm here as comic relief. And it's like, yeah, you totally get that, because all of the Golden Age, Puck wasn't around, and look what happened, all right? So if the whole series was that, I mean, man. Yeah, Puck is good. Puck is all right. He knows what it's all about, yeah. I think Rickert needs some therapy, but he's all over. He has a good head on his shoulders. Out of most characters, he's pretty leveled out. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, Puck's Star Wars reference. That's like mostly what Puck does. Is like I am Yoda, which is really funny. Yeah. But yeah, so after they delve in a little bit into Serpico and Farney's backstory, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with them now. I think they're all right. Shierke, her backstory with Flora. I love the when Shierke showed up, she introduced the concept of magic in Berserk, and I loved how it was very like nature themed, like kind of like old school witchcraft, talismans, and like I call upon the mother of the burning wheel, like something. I like that. That magic system in Berserk. I love the flavor that Miura used magic in this world, like with talismans and like nature spirits and gods and guardian deities and stuff like that. I thought was pretty cool. So Shierke is fine. I'm not a huge fan of Isidoro, just because it's just he just kind of is annoying. I don't really like him. He's probably my least favorite. But yeah, I think Serpico is probably my favorite. And then it would be Serpico and then Guts. No, Serpico and then Puck. And then let's not include Guts because Guts is kind of like on his own thing. In terms of his traveling companions, Serpico, Puck, Shierke, and then Farney, and then Isidoro's at the bottom. Isidoro. I have not watched any of the anime versions of this, by the way. I hear the 2016 version sucks. I saw the opening of the original Berserk, the opening for the anime, but I didn't watch any episodes. So when it comes to pronunciations, I'm way out of there. Yeah. Isidoro. I've never heard it pronounced. I don't know how to pronounce it. Not Casca either, I guess. Yeah, Guts and Casca are kind of off on their own, like, because they've been around since the Golden Age. So these are new. Yeah, Tooking butchering all their names. I don't know what to tell you. Man. Isidro will be interesting as a grown man. Well, he's like Guts' apprentice, and Guts is like tutoring him at least a little bit. So, like, yeah, sure. But I kind of find him more annoying than anything. Yeah. Yeah, then I hear the 97 anime is better than the alternative, which is the 2016. That's actually not true. I did try to watch a little bit of the 2016, and I just hated the CG. It's the same thing like with Kingdom. I hate the way the CG is used. I just can't get into it. Oh, man. So do we try to read the new chapter, or do we stop while we're ahead? But relatively speaking, stop while we're ahead, because we haven't been dropping frames in the last 12 minutes. My grandma was named Isidora. Well, there you go. Yeah, CG is just cursed awkwardness, yeah. What should Guts do about Griffith? You tell me. Because it's like, what's he gonna do? Like, Griffith rules an entire freaking kingdom, an entire, like, mythical city. He has a legion of demons at his beck and call. Zod is his, like, personal, like, servant. He's captured Casca. It's like, yeah, you look at that and what Griffith has going for him. He is a god. He's a straight up god reincarnated in human form. Like, what could Guts do? I can't think of a single thing Guts can do. I mean, wasn't Puck kind of always comic relief? I mean, he was kind of there. Puck wasn't really comic relief. Puck was there pretty much from the beginning to basically establish, like, all right, I'm going to kind of balance out all the gruesome murder and violence here. Also to give somebody Guts to play off of. Because other than that, it just doesn't work, It's like Guts is alone for a good chunk of this story. You need to have somebody to play off of. Yeah. Puck's character definitely does change. I've noticed throughout the story where he is now literally, he's Chestnut Puck. He's just that, yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, no, seriously. It's like, you tell me what he could do. I have no idea at this point. Honestly, maybe he should just try to, like, you know what? I mean, they have to get Casca back, obviously. Like, if Griffith never woke up on the island and stole Casca, like, honestly, I would have just said that, like, Griffith should just, let him just do his thing. Fuck it. Just let him go off and do his thing. maybe Guts could learn to just move on from that and then just live on the Elf Island with Casca and just improve their relationship. Like, I would have said that, and then the last, like, 3 chapters happened, you know? Yeah, also Puck is essentially just the medic. He's the white mage. That's pretty much what Puck's role is in the Astoria. You and Daniel are like the best kind of people. Well, I thank you. Thank you so much for that. All right, yeah, let's try to read the chapter now. Let's try to read the chapter. All right, let's do this. Chapter, new chapter of Berserk that just came out that I had not read yet. Chapter 373. Let's read that. That sounds like a good time. I'm just gonna check the Berserk Reddit. See what we got here. Yeah, here it is. We getting bold here, yep. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Huh. Somebody on the Reddit asked a question that's actually kind of interesting. I don't think this would work. It would not work for Casca or Guts. But somebody asked the question of, could you just, like, the part of your body that the brand of sacrifice is on, could you just cut that part off? Because I think there was a scene where Judo in the Eclipse, I think his brand ended up on his hand. So it's like, okay, couldn't you just cut off the hand? But I would imagine that wouldn't work, because it's kind of like your soul that's getting marked. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like your soul would kind of be tainted by the mark of sacrifice, by the brand. And so you couldn't just, like I could imagine, like, it's on your hand and you slice your hand off and it just appears, like, on your chest or something. Like, I don't think that's how it would work. Yeah, it's tied to your soul, yeah. So unless you pull, like, an Orochimaru and slice off your soul hands, because as we all know, we have soul hands, you know. Obviously, don't want to stress you out about just curious. I think I did get that. I will go back in my email and check. Sorry about that. It's just, yeah, I get a lot of emails with stuff. I will go back and double check that podcast. I remember that one, though. Yeah, I got to go back and reread that. It's like your astral self. Yeah. I'm not seeing the new chapter on the Reddit. Hold on. Let me see. Berserk chapter 373. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, just, okay. Yeah, okay, there you go. Read Berserk Online. There we go. I want to read berserkonline.com. Oh, we do actually cut back to Guts' crew. Okay, so we're starting this chapter. I'm trying to figure out the best way to lay this out for me to read it, because the microphone and everything. I can move, hold on, let me move this over here. Let me move the chapter over here. Wait, hold on. All right, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. All right. Just Google it. Yeah, I did. Okay. Let's see. So they're on the ship, heading back. Oh, you know who else I really like? Roderick. I like Roderick. I think Roderick is pretty fucking badass. Okay? I'm going to put Roderick right below. Okay, honestly, we're going to go Serpico, and then we're going to go Puck, then we're going to go Roderick, then we're going to go Shierke, then we're going to go Farney, then we're going to go Isidro at the bottom. There you go. Roderick, yeah. Nice. Roderick in Troyer, yeah. Let's hear it for Roderick! Woo! Captain of the Seahorse! I can pronounce his name right. It's actually pronounced Roderick. He's Roderick. All right. Let's see. They're looking for Isidro. Of course, they start the chapter with him. In order to ascertain Casca's whereabouts after she was taken, Shierke intends to conduct a magic rite. Oh, okay. In this ritual, she will enter into a deep meditative state to expand her consciousness, raising her own power of perception. All right, cool. So Isidro doesn't really pay attention to any of this. He's just like kind of like going to sleep. What are you even saying, man? Expanding consciousness and raising perception? I don't have any idea about any of that. I don't know how magic works. I don't know. I just stab shit. I don't know how magic works. See, listen, Isidro. Elf Island is gone. Together with the Great Spirit Tree and all the souls it supported, the witches lost their home and many are starting to lose their power. Okay, not good. We were lucky to be strangers to the island, and it vanished had no particular effect on us. But let's just have faith. All right, so all we can do now is trust in Shierke. All right, so we have Shierke beginning the rites. And so she's asking Farnese to take care of her body. Okay, so she's doing this solo. Shierke is trying to just go in there and just trying to locate Casca and where she's located and everything like that. And Farnese is gonna watch her body. You know, Roderick is there. It's important that everyone's awareness is focused in one place for this rite. For those who have not studied the arcane arts that can contribute to magic. Okay. So, and then, oh, yeah. Oh, and then who's the dude? Who's the other piece of shit? The guy, oh, what's his name? I know his name. Starts with an M. The guy, you know, Roderick's friend, who's like the guy that wanted to sell off all the elves and everything. It's something with an M. Someone will tell me. Oh, man. Yeah. Isidro's little girlfriend went off to the astral realm as well. Yeah. Matt, yeah. It's like yeah, what is his name? Morbius. It's Morbius. Magnifico, that's it. Yeah, he's there. Magnifico. All right. So they perform their art, they perform the rites. And she's just sitting there. And of course, Magnifico is just there, and he's just like, "What's going on? I don't understand anything." And then Farnese has to be like, "Shut the fuck up." She's like, "Esteemed brother, shut the fuck up. Be quiet. We don't even know why you're here, honestly." Okay, so Shierke's in like a big pentagram kind of situation. And then, not a pentagram, I guess it was a hexagram, a 6-pointed star. She's in like a 6-pointed star kind of situation, and then she's like, okay, we're going to be expanding into the realm of the dead, or rather, a domain even deeper beyond. All right, so she's heading off into the astral plane on this one. She's, yeah. Really cool shot of the world tree, all of the roots of it. This is the dragon's path. It stretches on without end. I can manifest my perception beyond the horizon. So, okay, so I'm thinking Shierke here is like entering like the really like the limbs and the branches of the god tree. And she's like, I guess the implication is she can travel kind of anywhere using this ability. So she might be able to travel directly to Falconia. And if she does that, she might be able to find Casca. What is this dense odd gathering in the far distance? It's as if all odd is flowing toward a single point, which would be Falconia, right? It's okay. There can only be such place within the bounds of this world. And there, surely there. Okay, so she's heading out. And then we cut. Okay, we are seeing Guts in this chapter. Okay, we see Guts, and Guts is still below decks, and he's there. I mean, he's just in like below decks where all there's like rats running around, and he's crawling around on the floor. He's just sweating profusely. And we see his sword there. Oh, here comes the demon dog. Oh, here it comes. So the dog emerges out of the sword, and by the way, with the Dragon Slayer sword, the implication I got from that is it was just a regular sword made by Godot. Just this really big slab of iron. But just because of all of the murder, just because of the sheer number of demons that Guts has hacked into tiny pieces with this thing over the years, it literally has like become like a magically charged, like a demon charged weapon, just because of the sheer amount of like demon blood that has soaked into this thing. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's it. Which is cool. Which is so cool. Yeah, it can cut astral beings now. All right. Yeah. Is he starting the series for the first time? Yep. We're starting from chapter 1, and we're not stopping the stream until we reach chapter 373. Buckle in, everybody. Buckle in. He didn't pick up the sword of the Demon Slayer. He made it the Demon Slayer, which I think is way more impactful. Yeah. I'm in. Let's do it. All right, so chapter 1, the Black Swordsman. We start off on a... Oh, God. All right. So we have the dog emerging from the sword, and sitting down. You know, it's covered in the chains because like the moment with the dog when Guts was putting on the armor at that one point, and the talisman was there, and Shierke was like guiding Guts back into sanity. The dog was essentially like, all right, look, here's the deal. I'm going to drag you down eventually. Like, your body's going to be mine. It's kind of it was honestly, I remember reading those chapters and feeling parallels to, like, Hollow Ichigo with it. But the dog is like, look, okay, I'm being bound right now because that witch put, like, a talisman on the mark and, like, is controlling the Berserk armor. But make no mistake, I'll play by the rules right now, but, like, there will come a day where I'm going to break these chains and I'm just going to devour you. So look forward to that. All right. So yeah, that was a really good kind of foreshadowing moment. So this might be the moment, like right here, right now. So the dog emerges and is just like sitting on the sword, just sitting on the Dragon Slayer. Yeah. You want it, don't you? Power. Oh God, no. Guts, don't do it. Guts, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, now listen. This is a trope. This is a trope so bad. And Guts is literally at the lowest point he's ever been in the entire story right now. This is so convenient I'm reading it now because he's at his lowest. He's never been more sorrowful or like in a state of just absolute depression than he has been right now. This is it. And so now you have a demon approaching him that's like, hey man, you want to kill Griffith, don't you? Can't do it on your own, can you? You tried. You didn't do shit. Yeah. Hey, you want some power? I'm selling power over here. All you got to do is just give up your sanity, and I'll give it to you. Yeah, there you go. You want it? You want it, buddy? I'll give it to you. Don't make the deal. Don't make the deal, Guts, please. Oh, man. Guts, he grabs the sword. He reaches out. His hands are, like, shaking as all hell. He hasn't probably moved or drank anything in a while. He's just been crawling around on the floor. Oh, he's wearing the Berserk armor. Oh, that's not good. Guts, this isn't good. Guts, no. God, Guts, no. Jesus. Oh, okay, here's Griffith naked in front of him. Okay, let's see if that does something. All right. So Griffith appears on top of the Dragon Slayer sword. Okay. I'm assuming this is a vision. This is not really Griffith. I'm assuming this is just a vision. And then Guts pukes. That's about right. He just begins to puke and pass out again. Okay. All right. Okay, so Guts is still he didn't make the deal. He didn't make the deal. Yeah. You cannot deny me. That brand limits you. You cannot deny me. That flesh that restrains you. Your flesh, your blood, the creaking of your bones, your pain, even your soul. Yield them to me. Your all. If you do. Oh no. Now there's okay, so this is something else. Oh, this is something else. This is like a raiding party. Oh, the pirates back? Oh, I love those pirates. Those pirates were great. I loved Captain Pirate Man. That was great. Yarg, I be a pirate, matey. I love the pirates. Okay, so all of a sudden, chains and smoke balls just attack the ship, the Seahorse, and they're just knocking everybody out. So Roderick's getting knocked out. Everybody. Oh, they're Kushans. Okay, Kushan raiding party. Here we go. All right, they're attacking the ship. They're attacking everybody. Farnese is with Shierke. Oh, man, they're storming the ship. They open the cargo hold, and they just see Guts passed out on the floor, trapped, both body and soul. What fate awaits the party? Oh, boy. Okay. And that's the chapter, man. All right, so these guys are all dead next chapter, right? We're all on agreement with that, probably, right? Guts is just going to wake up and slice apart them all. That's probably what's going to happen there. All right, so that was chapter 373. That was a good one. That was a good chapter. That covered a lot of stuff there. Oh my God. If I could see a naked Griffith, I would be Guts. Explore all the images in every chapter well, because things can be hidden in the images. That is true. That is true. But, you know, I'm going to end the stream soon, so. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Mike. Hi, Jack. Hi, Bakura. Yeah, I love the callback between the first Guts versus Griffith fight. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, where he steps on the sword. Yeah, I remember that, yeah. Thoughts on Guts' next move? I mean, honestly, either he's going to be completely passed out and the Kushans are just going to take them all to, like, the next story arc, like the next plot beat, or Guts is going to wake up and murder them all, or the Berserk armor is going to possess Guts and take him over anyway, and then murder them all. So that's another option. Yeah. That was a great stream teching. Yeah, I mean, no, it wasn't. I mean, I liked talking about Berserk. That was fun, but, you know. And now we're solid. Now it's, like, maintained. So it's like, you know, go figure, right? Do you have all the deluxe editions? Yeah, I didn't bring them all down here because there's a lot of them. There's 13. And I could have made a second trip, but I just brought down, like 7. But I have all of them, yeah. Teching versus the Lag was a solid stream. It was a good story arc, yeah. The Kushan might meet up with Rickert. That's possible, yeah. They're the Bakiraka clan. I'm probably mispronouncing it. The Bakira clan are going to be involved in this probably at some point too. That's all going to might be because now, you know, with Miura gone, I mean, the idea is, yeah, continuing Berserk, but the idea is to finish Berserk. So, like, we're probably going to be now moving into, like, you know, we're going to be finishing the manga, finishing the story. You know, at least to the best of Miura's friend that can do this. So I would assume it would be a thing where people are going to try to coalesce together, you know, to try to, like, form a group and then against Griffith. That would be the idea. I think you said Bakiraka right the first time. There it is. Yeah, there it is. You didn't finish saying how I would die in Eclipse. I don't know. Just picture the worst way for me to get killed by demons, and there you go. They don't have to. Something involving getting ripped to pieces is usually a pretty standard thing to start with. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm really hoping the next arc, at least the next character arc for Guts is he's really got to realize what he needs to do next, and that I hope he doesn't make the Faustian deal for I'm just going to surrender myself to the Berserk armor, which is probably what the Skull Knight did, you know, and so I'm hoping that we have a twist on that where Guts has to realize what he has to do, and what is that has to do, I don't know. Like, he has to get Casca back, but maybe he might realize that he doesn't have to kill Griffith. I mean, he kind of does, but he doesn't. I don't know. Like, this is the thing with Berserk, where it's just like, it's not really set in stone what to do. It's not like, oh, this is an easy solution. Like, they obviously have to get Casca back, like, clearly. But, like, it's not as simple as just like, oh, we'll get Casca and then murder Griffith and everything's hunky-dory. Like, it's not that simple. Yeah, nah, Guts can't be just a carbon copy of Skull Knight. Exactly. So there's got to be something else going on here, which I'm hoping will be conveyed well. They should just hug it out. They should just hug it out. Okay, to be honest with you, back before I had no idea what Berserk was about. Like, I had no concept of what Berserk was about. I didn't read the story. All I knew was I knew what Guts looked like. I knew what Griffith looked like. I knew those were the main characters. I knew a little bit about the Eclipse, and that was it. I just assumed there was a love thing going on between Griffith and Guts. I just assumed that they were, like, lovers. That's just immediately what I was like, oh, okay, clearly that must be the tone here. And I was like, oh, no, that's not it at all. Although, there's definitely moments you could look at and be like, maybe? It's like, no, that's not where it's going, though. They are? Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, yeah. Same, not wrong. They are. You thought Griffith was a woman, too. No, I don't think I thought Griffith was a woman at the very beginning. I think I always kind of... Because remember, the first time I knew about Berserk was when I watched that video of that guy way back in the day was doing a review on it, whose name I completely forget. I don't even remember what he looks like, honestly. I just kind of remember bits and pieces of that video. And so I knew Griffith was not a woman. But, yeah... Griffith definitely felt something for Guts. I'll give you that. I feel like that is more clear than Guts having feelings for Griffith. For Guts, I felt like he views Griffith as his benefactor, as his savior during Golden Age. He wants to live up to his standards. He wants to be viewed as an equal. He wants to be viewed as a friend and a comrade, truly and utterly. That's what I got the impression from Guts to Griffith. Griffith to Guts, I felt like, yeah, there was some emotion there. You know, there was some maybe like romantic feelings for Guts. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get going now. I don't know how long this stream was because of all the times it lagged out. But it should be one solid video available on the channel. So give it a second to, like, settle, and it should be up there. I have no idea how this is going to turn out in the VOD with all the different cuts and shit. It probably crashed like 20 times. But it's about 2 hours. I think I started a little bit after 1. I think I started around 1:30. So it's probably like 2.5 hours, something like that. Well, anyway, hope you guys... Oh, you'll go without reading the Super Chats? Oh, that's right. I think there was only a couple left. I can check again. Let me check the Super Chats again while we do that. Don't crash. Okay, we're good. Let's see. I saw the podcast one. I'll get back to you on that. I vote on you start reading the chapter on stream now. I did that. Thank you for all the great content. You and Daniel are the best kind of people. Thank you. Talk to your internet guy and fix your internet. I mean, like, honestly, like, the only thing I can think of, like, the only fucking thing I can think of about the internet problem at this point is just to, like, get the internet guy to come to my house and just wait off, like give him a chair and just be like, all right, internet guy, just sit over here off camera and just wait until my internet dies, and then we figure out the problem. Like, that's the only solution I have to the problem right now. It's just like, listen, yeah, none of this is working. I need someone to be here and just be here that knows what the hell they're doing. And then when the internet crashes, I'll be like, see, it's happening. It's happening. Fix it now. This is the problem. Fix it. It's just like, yeah. And then of course, guy will come out, and then he'll do that, and then stream will be fine. Stream will be flawless. Not a single problem. Yeah. And then that'll be the only day it doesn't crash. Yeah. When are you going to watch cartoons on Kick? I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to do that. It was just an idea I threw out, which, my ideas. They're just like, I'm going to do this thing, and it just never ends up happening. Let's see. I don't want to spoil myself for Berserk, but good luck, man. Only stopping by for a bit. Thanks, Alex. Let's see. My phone is going to die. Bye. Later. I'm hoping I'm not spamming you. I sent you an email about reviewing a book I wrote. I'm just sending this in the off chance you got it between the other promotions. It's okay if it's not your thing. Yeah, that's not really my thing. Just because I read super slow, and I'm also reading like 3 other books right now. So if you sent me a book, I'm probably not going to have time to read it. Other fans have sent me books before, and I just couldn't, because they want me to like, read the book and let me know how you feel about it and give me your impression. And I'm just like, I'm too busy. I can't. I'm sorry. But I appreciate that. But yeah, that's not the best. Want to understand Miura and Mori's relationship, the truth of Berserk. Oh, it's like he's giving me a video to like watch about like Miura and Mori. Yeah, I should watch that. I should definitely check that out. And then there's the birthday shout out by Trey that I already did. So thank you to Trey. And I think I answered all of those ones. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for watching the stream. I apologize for the issues. I don't even know what the problem is anymore. Yeah. Anyway, have a good one, I guess. It's just a crapshoot, I guess. You start the stream and you see if it works, and if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, it's crap, and that's just how it is. Okay, and that's just the way it is. All right. Anyway, VOD will be up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chats. We might do another Berserk stream someday to talk about some other aspects of it that I missed here. I mean, it's a 370-something chapters. It's hard to cover everything at once. But I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to go chill out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Teching later.